What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? First of all, check this out, man. I was out in the yard. I've been doing some recording, so I changed the settings a little bit, thinking I'm helping, thinking I know what I'm doing, right? People keep saying I don't know what I'm doing, or they don't say I don't know what I'm doing. They just don't know that I'm a certified sound technician. That means something. But anyway, check this out, man. We ran into some weird people doing Diddy's trial. I hope she ain't talking about me, because I ran into it, y'all. I saw Steph Rodney Mangoes. I said, I know you ain't who I think you are. She said, I don't know who. I said, you know who you are. And somebody walked up behind me and said, oh, that's Stephanie from Rotten Mangoes. And I said, no, that ain't her. That ain't who it is. Let me think. I'm just joking with her, right? So check this out, man. I pulled this up. I want y'all to see this, man. Uncle Mike was excited because that's my #1 channel right there, man. This girl be rolling, boy. Shout out to Steph. And her husband, I was asking her, who's the gentleman that be talking, that's off camera, that be talking to her? That's her husband. Shout out to her, and shout out to, I forgot the lady name. She had one of her assistants with her, and we gonna see it right now. Watch this, y'all. Watch this. Here we go. This is embarrassing, y'all.
Yes, who's together in front of the federal court. Stephanie. Hello, nice to meet you guys.
This is her assistant.
Oh.
I'm the type of, I was a person in the background all the time. And I was a good background person. But nobody gave me no props.
Yeah.
I always give the people in the background, I give them the big time props.
Give them the props.
In the background, she does a lot of work to make her look good.
No, it's all her. No, it's not. It's just a couple. I would die without her.
That's how they do it. That's how you can tell good people right there, because yeah. I don't even know what she do.
She's so shy, though, I will say. Oh my gosh.
She got over 5 million subscribers.
Yeah, man.
Worldwide, 5 million subscribers.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention because I want to be like her. Peace out.
Yeah. I was excited, man. So I sat there and talked to her a little bit about some YouTube stuff and everything. And she told me about some weird stuff that was going on. Give them a thumbs up. Oops. My computer moving real slow, y'all, so I better leave it alone. Y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Hey, I don't know if we're gonna split. We gotta split this up. This is 2.5 hours long. Golly. Maybe we should keep it the same. Let's check it out.
Minutes of this video are going to have no relation to the actual trial and the actual happenings of the trial with all the testimonies of the witnesses. So the first 20 minutes are honestly just some behind the scenes information on things that we've been kind of working with. So if that is no interest to you, just skip ahead. I will say though, it has been a rough few weeks. This is our fourth time moving locations. One of them was completely unrelated to the case, and the rest of the times that we've moved to different places to stay, it's just been getting weird, and we're taking all the necessary precautions to keep the entire team safe. And I feel like I haven't really spoken about any of the things that have been happening behind the scenes, so I just want to fill you guys in. There has been so much happening inside the courthouse, or right after the court, or the entire team, like right before we go into the courthouse, and it's just things that we can't really put our finger on. And at the risk of sounding like we're overly paranoid, I'm just gonna try and tell you and explain why I think that we've been on edge recently. I'm just gonna paint the picture for you. This is not creepy, it's just pure chaos. Outside the courthouse, it is a literal zoo every single day. I see TikToks here and there of people capturing this chaotic tornado that's happening, and it is wild how desensitized everybody is getting to just how incredibly messy everything is. A few days ago, there was a man who came to the courthouse with this giant 2x4 plank of wood.
Yeah.
And he was, in a rather menacing way, slamming it against the street poles. He swung it at a reporter. Thankfully, she did not get hit, but it was still terrifying nevertheless. And this is actually the second time within the span of like a few business days that the police have been called on this specific person. He has been around the line for a while. He has been consistently standing in the line to get into the courthouse, and then in the morning, he tries to sell his spot. I will say that this man is very intense. Our only interactions with him personally is that he is very aggressive, and he will aggressively scream "ni hao" at us and expect us to say it back. And so we do, because we're terrified. His friend is also very intense. There was one morning where I was going over transcripts before the courthouse opened. So I'm like sitting on the ledge of the sidewalk and I'm going over the transcripts. He's standing towering over me, and he's just he's like demanding to know what I thought about Cassie's testimony. I told him I'm busy. I have work to do. I'm like going over the transcripts, and he keeps insisting me in a pretty threatening way. He's like towering over me. Why can't I help you? You don't think I can help you? You don't think I'm capable of helping you? I'm telling you I can help you right now. And it just took so long to get him to finally walk away. He was definitely erratic, unpredictable. It felt like he wanted me to answer his persistent questions about what I felt about Cassie's testimony so that he would have a reason to start freaking out. That was the feeling. There was another incident where a man was believed to be holding a pool ball inside of a sock. So he's like threatening to swing it around and hit people with it. We didn't see it. We were warned about it. So we like stayed in the courthouse a little bit longer before exiting that day. And it's the same guy that allegedly we heard again that he spat at a reporter. He was screaming homophobic slurs at people in the line. And the NYPD, they will just take the people harassing the public and the press outside waiting to get into the courthouse.
Yeah.
Will lead them across the street and then send them off. They
Right.
literally just cross the street with them.
And the guy she's talking about, they straight up locked him up. But the next day, he was right back out there. But he was a lot calmer. I got to admit, he was a lot calmer. He didn't have that little, I'm just going to call it a weapon because I don't know what it was, because he was swinging it. I wish I had the video. Pause. Hold on for a second. Wait a minute. Resume. Okay. I had to look for it, y'all. Man, I knew I seen it before. But anyway, when she was saying the man was swinging a stick, this is what she was talking about. I caught a little bit with my camera. So check this out, y'all, just so y'all can see.
Oh,
see the guy
God.
with the stick? Well, you're going to see him swing it.
Get him, Jimmy. Jimmy. Get him, Jimmy.
And he almost hit her. Did you see that?
Hey, Jimmy. No.
Yeah, did you see how close he came? Jimmy is his name.
Get him, Jimmy. Jimmy. Get him, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. No, Jimmy.
Wow.
Take that down the block. Go down the block. Take him with you. Go with him, Jimmy. Go down the block, Jimmy.
So they trying to get him to calm down. The people at the front of the line, they ran and got the police and snitched. They snitched. If I was in the front of the line, Uncle Mike would have snitched too. Yeah, I would have went and got the police. Said, look, man, this guy, because we trying to keep peace. We want to get the footage. This is our job. We don't. You know what I'm saying? This is our job.
Lord
so
have mercy, Jimmy. All the way down the block. Chase that nigga to 7-Eleven, Jimmy. Now go to Dunkin' Donuts and get me some breakfast.
that's me.
I pay you.
hungry.
Bring me back some breakfast.
I'm hungry. Look, he's still tearing up stuff.
Why y'all trying to act like y'all
Look.
brand new, like y'all?
Yo, don't make the noise over here, man.
No, don't tell Jimmy to stop. Y'all ain't doing shit. And say, John.
Damn, Jimmy, you making the taxpayers' dollars go up. he ain't doing nothing but making the taxpayers' dollars go up.
Yeah, that was ugly,
Gave him a
man.
cigarette.
So
Myself.
No,
Wow.
she gotta act like Jimmy to get a cigarette from me.
So
Go ahead down the block, Jimmy. Damn, Jimmy, Stop swinging that stick over here, man.
yeah,
done
you can
switched.
see they went and got she went and got the police.
They done snitched on you, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you know now. They already snitched on you, Jimmy. They snitched on Jimmy, didn't they? Look
There
here,
go-
we
there she
trying
go.
to be peaceful. Jimmy over here with the stick. Jimmy with the stick.
See, when all this was going on, I didn't notice Stephanie. She was like one of the first in line. I didn't even notice that Rotten Mango was in the house.
Me with the stick, baby. How y'all know his name Jimmy? No, that's what I want to know.
Jimmy, you're not sitting over here, bro.
See,
I'm like, damn, she's not. Hey,
I see the assistant. Yeah.
Give it to him,
Jimmy,
Jimmy.
there you go.
It's some wild, yeah. This is.
Look, speak up. I can't hear.
You ready?
You scared the mess out of me. Oops. Yup. That's in New York.
I'm like this. Speak
guy
up, y'all. I can't hear. I can't hear.
Oh man.
Poor Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
All right, so Jimmy is gone, y'all. So Jimmy's gone now. Uncle Mike is gone because I got to take Mom to the doctor, right? Mom is sitting here ready to go to the doctor. So I'll be back. It'll be like that for you guys, but I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I'm back. Let's just keep going. I don't even know where we at. Mom, I had to take Mom to the doctor. So, but she's talking about a lot of stuff that was going on in the outside the courtroom, and I'm like, gee, it wasn't that many people there when I was there, and I seen some stuff, and I was like, imagine when there was too many people there. Oh my gracious, they had their hands full. Here we go.
Take the people harassing the public and the press outside waiting to get into the courthouse, will lead them across the street and then send them off. They literally just cross the street with them. We've seen this happen almost every other day. I mean, I think they can't really do anything unless someone demands to press charges or, I don't know, actually, God forbid, gets injured, so that's great. There is heavy police presence there. The U.S. Marshals are out there every single day, but there are just nonstop people, unwarranted, unprompted, just spawning out of thin air, screaming at everybody. I honestly feel like some of these people are coming to the courthouse to get a fight out of their system. That's the feeling. That's the only way I can describe it. People are trying to argue about pretty much everything outside of this courthouse.
Wow.
I am told...
Dude, that's the guy right there that was swinging the lock, and the police locked him up because he was actually doing too much. That's the first time I seen that footage, but he was doing way too much. And there was two other people out there doing too much. But let's continue.
That this is very New York, which we have spent some time in New York and had a place here for a while. And it feels like every interaction, like every bad interaction I've had in New York, amplify it times 1,000 and then add it all up, and then I have to relive that experience every single day. We're trying to keep to ourselves. We're really just trying to mind our own business. But even so, just a few days ago, one of our team members was waiting in the line super early, gets harassed to the point of tears. A passerby is cursing at her, screaming belligerently at her, tries to snatch her phone from her hand. We've been told that she's been starting quite a few fights outside the courthouse. This is completely unprompted. She's screaming racist slurs at our team member's face. Nobody cares. Nobody helps. Like, people are just standing around live streaming it, filming it, watching it. And then afterwards, after the crazy lady leaves, the same people that were filming, that did nothing to help our team member, are now filming her as they comfort her. And they're like trying to rub her back and tell her it's okay. It is so dystopian.
Wow.
We were inside the courthouse, so we didn't even know until after the fact. There were briefly a group of protesters wearing Free Diddy shirts across the street from the courthouse.
Oh my God.
They were allegedly getting paid $20 an hour to stand outside and wear Free Diddy t-shirts to promote the Diddy coin, which we've also received an email about. It's like a crypto coin for Diddy, so there's that. There are people seemingly thirsting after Sean Combs' sons when they arrive and leave for court, with one supporter of the son, not Diddy's supporter, kissing Justin Combs on the cheek. Which, speaking of, I will say, there has been an uptick of Diddy supporters coming into the courthouse through the public side. One supporter even tries to hand Sean Combs a stack of papers, which Officer Riz promptly put an end to, but there was a futile attempt. The supporters staying outside the courthouse they've been slightly confrontational with the press and confrontational with a lot of others that are just live streaming right outside. So that's just setting the scene of what's been happening outside the courthouse. Also, why is fresh and fit Myron in the courtroom? Like, he was in the main courtroom for, I think, at least a few days last week. I haven't seen him the past few days, but he could be in the overflow rooms. I did see him outside while when he first started coming around. He's recording outside while a woman is undressing down into her underwear. This is like right outside the federal courthouse. What? This is how chaotic it's been. Which, if you're not familiar, Myron is the fresh and fit guy. If you're luckily unfamiliar with his podcast, which I don't even think is around anymore, he would have this format where he would bring a bunch of women onto the podcast, many of them being OnlyFans models, and he just essentially berates them for being alive. I mean, that's factually incorrect, but emotionally, that's what you're going to feel from the podcast. There are at least 5 times I wrote in my notebook, why is Myron here? Like, I don't know why he's here. But what's interesting about him is he's actually quite meek in real life. Not that I think he should carry himself as he does on his podcast in the courthouse, but he's rather, like, he has a very soft demeanor. Softer than other content creators that I run into in the elevators, which is not what I expected of him. Like, we were in the elevator with him once, and everybody's shuffling out, and we were waiting for him to leave, and he's just like, oh yeah, no, please go ahead. But like very softly. Nevertheless, that's just like painting the picture of the chaos. There have been a lot of incidents though that have us feeling just weird. Right outside the federal courthouse, there is this one gigantic line that is filled with press and public. You got members of the press, you got members of the public, all in one singular line. The only way that you can kind of differentiate is like maybe they have on their press badge at the time. Now, this line typically starts the day before. The line sometimes starts before we get out of court sometimes. So the line starts while we're inside the courthouse. Clearly, nobody can be at 2 places at once. So a lot of the press members, they will hire line waiters. And just to give you an idea, a lot of the press pews, yes, there's a few independent journalists in there. A good number of them are all with Legacy Media, and Legacy Media has a lot of money. We're a small team, and just to keep up, we're having to spend about $1,000 a day to have line sitters. Actually, more, to just make sure we get into that main courtroom to be able to give you all the details that we really want to provide for you guys. So there's this giant line outside, press and public all in one line, and then right before the security line into the courthouse, the U.S. Marshals will come out and divvy up the line. So they'll make a press line and they'll make a public line. So it's in order. So if you're like the 5th in line, you might be the 2nd member of the press, or you might be the 3rd member of the public, and they'll just kind of sort you one by one, depending on the order. Now, I will say that a good chunk of the public line are content creators, so it's kind of like a mini press line. Also, these days, though, lots of supporters of Sean Combs that are not part of his friends and family that are going in through the public side as well. And then once you get inside the courtroom, the press pews are on the right side and the public pews are on the left side. Recently, there have been so many whisperings and just confusion because there have been people, different people each time, that will lurk around this gigantic main line outside before it's separated. And you'll see that in the beginning, I think the Legacy Media, they're a lot more intense about getting spots in the main courtroom. So good chunk of the first half of the gigantic line are press. There will be random people that will walk up and down this line, primarily focusing on the press members at the very front, and they'll act like they're just walking up and down for exercise, and they will be secretly recording everyone on their phones. Now, mind you, there are a lot of people live streaming outside, so it's not like they're live streaming. It's like they're trying to be discreet, like they're recording, but they don't want the press members to know that they're recording. So it's becoming incredibly uncomfortable, and all the press members are trying to warn each other once they spot someone like this. And it feels like it's every other day that they spot.
Look, and I'm out there for real, y'all. I ain't trying to secretly record nobody. I'm out there with this, so it ain't no secret Uncle Mike what Uncle Mike doing. So let's continue. Ain't no
someone
secret,
secretly
baby.
recording members of the press. And it's confusing because, a lot of the members of the press, these people are very impressive producers, reporters, journalists that have been in the industry for years. They work with Legacy Media. They're not the type of people that are just going to say unhinged stuff in broad daylight in a public setting or air out confidential information on the side of the street. So it's not like you're recording the press members saying anything salacious or juicy or even worth capturing on camera. It feels like they're recording to get a general vibe of the members of the press. Because right before we go in, we might have small talk about maybe yesterday's testimony, or like what's to be expected when we walk in today, who's testifying today. Like there's little conversations like that where maybe you could see each members of the press, maybe you'll see a little bit of their feelings about how it's going, maybe you'll see like tiny bits of their opinions, nothing salacious. Maybe it's more like, oh, I almost cried when she was testifying. Like those are the types of comments you hear. It's really not worth recording. And I say that it's been weird because those same people that are trying to discreetly record, they will often approach members of the press asking questions about how they feel about the case thus far. And they'll try to do it in a very casual manner. But again, we're all warning each other that they're recording us. I think it's been pretty easy for my researchers and I to tell if someone that we meet near or outside or even sometimes inside the courthouse is a genuinely curious person, or if they're asking a lot of strange questions. And that's why it's so hard to explain any of this in a way that doesn't make us seem super dramatic, because we'll get similar questions asked by people who we feel are genuinely just supporters of the podcast or just intrigued because maybe they themselves are trying to start social media. So the past 2 weeks, we have had almost, I want to say it's like more than a handful. I think it's been like 8 or 9 times in the past like week. Not people that we see in the courtroom every single day. Completely new faces that will come up to us, tell us that they love our show, Rotten Mango, and then they keep asking us where we're staying, which hotel we're staying at, which part of the city we're staying at. And of course, we give them very non-committal answers because that's a very invasive question to ask.
Not only that, they even ask like, who's here?
Yes. Oh, I'm going to get into that. Like, so like just to give you an idea, like clearly if someone is a member of the press, or if it's a fellow content creator or somebody that I see every single day and we have some sort of foundation and they ask me, where are you staying? It feels like, oh, because we're all trying to get a gauge of all the hotels nearby, which one's a good one, which one has good amenities for after court. But these are random people that are like, hey, by the way, I love your show. Nice to meet you. My name is blank. Where are you staying? It's like instant. It's just nonstop questions about which hotel we're staying at. And then if we evade the question, it becomes what part of the city, which area, how long does it take you to get here? Do you Uber or do you walk? Who's all staying with you? Is it just you guys? Is it just you and your researcher here? Who, like, do you go home during the weekends if you're not from the city? Do you fly back home? Do you take the train? Like, it's just nonstop.
Like, what are some of these questions going to provide for this person? Like,
nothing.
There's no need for anybody to ask these type of questions.
And the worst part is, it's pretty clear that we're so uncomfortable with these questions because we'll literally be like, yeah, haha.
Damn, I wish I'd have known that.
And then they'll just keep asking.
And some of them don't seem like they've really watched anything from you. Yeah.
Wow, man, because Uncle Mike came up to her and I said, I'm a real big fan, because I am. And I didn't ask her where they were staying at, but she started telling me people was like harassing them and they had to change hotels. She said they had to change hotels. She didn't say how many times. And because people keep bothering her. And I was like, well, not while I'm here. Shoot, I wish somebody would come and bother you. Because see, I'm from the streets. That's what I told her. I said, well, you safe around me, because I will let these people know, hold up, this is my peoples. These my peoples. Hearing her say this make me want to go back up there right now. Because I know she's still there. In fact, I'm probably going to go up there a couple of days earlier. And as soon as I see her, I'm going to let her know I seen your video and I reacted to it. Yeah, I got to go back up there. God dang it. I got to go back up, y'all. Here we go. Come
because
on.
now, like, our researchers do this thing where they will try to have conversations about the show, and most of them have no clue what the show is even about, is the feeling.
Yeah.
And then this person will just vanish. That'll be like the first conversation we have with them, and then we'll never see them in court again. So one specific time, there was a man, an older guy, who's asking us where we're staying, just pressing. And he's in the main courtroom, in the public section. He's asking us all these invasive questions, and then he's waiting for us in the hallway during each break, just casually lingering near us the entire day, and then just rerouting every conversation back to which hotel you're staying at, pressing details. My researcher passes me a note later in the day saying, look at him right now. He doesn't even have a notebook. So usually, because you can't bring your phone,
right,
and you're not just like staring. I mean, even members of the public, they're all taking notes, even if they're not content creators.
Right.
Sure enough, I look, no notebook, no notes are being taken, nothing. And then he never shows up to court again. Another odd instance, this is a completely separate person that's asking nonstop where we're staying. We give a non-committal answer to him. He keeps asking, and again, it's not giving that, hey, I'm genuinely curious because I'm also staying at a hotel. It's just so unsettling. We refuse to answer. We keep laughing it off. He keeps pressing. Later during a break, he approaches my researcher outside while I'm in the bathroom. And then he asks her where I'm staying. And she again does not respond because he just asked us while we were together. It was just weird. He literally just asked us. This has been happening like every other day. There are other odd questions that are asked by people that don't necessarily look like they even care about the show in the slightest. So one person in particular asked a series of questions trying to gauge how much, quote, power I have over my audience. Like they kept asking, like, can you make them do anything? And I was like, do you think I like run a cult? I think half of them don't even like me that much. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't make them do anything, period? But they kept asking, like, well, you don't think if you say something, they would listen to you? And I'm like, I don't think so. I think they would do their own research. And it did not seem like this person cared at all about this show. Now, this could be completely unrelated, and in addition to everything else that I've just talked about, and everybody's already pretty intense. There was one instance where we're walking out of the courthouse. We run into someone who's like, hey, I love your show. That's it. And then they like come in for a hug. It was kind of abrupt. I was a little bit taken off guard. I love your show. Pulling me in for a hug. And my researcher snatches my arm, pulls me back and is like, we gotta go. Our car is here. And I thought it was kind of strange. So we get into the car and she's telling me their hand was like elbow deep into your tote bag. It's clear that they're looking for something. Now, I will say that my tote bag opening is quite large, but it's right under my armpit. So you would have to attempt to stick your arm in there. It would not be an accident, like, oh, I'm hugging you and my hand just ended up in this side. It's like elbow deep. So, I mean, I guess they could have been trying to steal my wallet, but it was weird. There's a lot of other small incidents that have taken place over the past week and a half. It feels like the weirdness and the influx of all these odd questions of where are you staying? How much influence do you have increased, especially the where are you staying ones. I mean, I've never had that many people ask me where I'm staying. And maybe it's crazy, coupled with all the chaos outside, with the people like threatening to hurt people with a pool ball and a sock outside. Maybe it has to do with the intensity of the case itself, and it's just all accumulated into this very stressful situation. But we have been just taking a bit more time to worry about our surroundings. Honestly, nothing really happened. It's just, you know, when you have a gut feeling like something's not right, it's kind of a lot of those that have been creeping us out, and we're just trying to stay on top of it before it escalates to anything. We could definitely just be paranoid, but I wanted to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on behind. But as of right now, nothing has really happened. Don't be worried. Nobody here is terrified. It's just been weird, and we're trying to be alert. We've been moving around to different places where we stay a bit more, been more mindful to just not come straight back to where we stay after court. Just taking all these like necessary small steps, and it just takes time. Because it's not just me, it's my researchers, it's my whole team. We're all just trying to make sure everybody feels safe and comfortable. And that's what we've been dealing with more in the past week, but I think that we should be able to get episodes up more quickly. I think we have a really good plan in place for all of us to feel safe, and hopefully it works. So with that being said, let's get into the actual episode.
Wow, dude. That was a deep one. The deep, man. Yeah, hey, come on, man. That's deep right there. I love that. I'm down with that. I am down with that. I want to go back up there, man, and let her know that you got some undercover protection. See, I don't just talk this trash, man. I swear, if I ain't had so much work to do and I had somebody to come with me, Jesus, man, I go back up there. All right, here we go. I think she can ready to do an advertisement right now, y'all. So let's skip.
Greatest potential. This episode's part as we work on our many of the quotes and statements included have been shortened and condensed for brevity. And you guys know the drill. Sean Combs is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That burden of proof is the responsibility of the government. Any descriptions or observations regarding Mr. Combs' legal team, anybody inside that courtroom, are personally noted by myself or my other researchers who are present in the courtroom. They should not be used as like a definitive source on how you should feel about anybody. So with that being said, let's get started. In other news, I think Diddy might know us. I don't know, maybe. So I'm just gonna explain. The first time it happened, I didn't even say it in an episode because my researcher and I are like, it was weird, but like, we could be dramatic. The second time it happens, I'm like, wait, maybe I'm not being dramatic. Not that it means anything regardless, but here's what happened and you tell me, because what is going on? Usually, Sean Combs will do this thing where he does a sweep of the press pews when he first walks into the courtroom. He's like hugging his attorneys. He'll look to the public side, which is on his right, and then we're kind of diagonal from him. And he oftentimes, since more of his supporters are coming to the courtroom these days, he'll shoot them little hand hearts. He'll put his hand to his chest. He'll mouth thank you. And then the press pews, we get a simple glance over and sometimes a nod, like a quick head down nod. Now, clearly, this stands out to both my researcher and I really strongly because on Thursday, we even write the time down, at 8:50 a.m., jurors are not in the courtroom. Attorneys are doing their thing. They're going through their documents. They're conversing about certain aspects of the day. Sean Combs sits down at his chair, and he turns in his chair to the right. This is our eye direction, like we can see him now. He makes eye contact with the press pews. We're at the very first row of the press pews. So there's 2 rows behind us. Now he glances over the press pews. He starts staring in what felt like in our general direction or perhaps right behind us. And it's a pretty lengthy stare. And then he starts nodding while mouthing the words dramatically, "I know you."
You don't hear it, you only see the mouthing, right?
Yeah, and it was clear that he was doing it so whoever is receiving it can understand what he's saying. Because it's not like mumbling, he's like, "I know you." Like very clear. He mouths it twice with what we perceive to be a smirk. Then as he's turning back around to face the front, he's like ever so slightly shaking his head while he's still smirking.
And at that point, the feeling was he was saying that towards you, right?
Yeah, so my researcher wrote like, it looked like he was looking at Stephanie. I wrote like, listen, you know when you can like make eye contact with someone, it feels like they're looking at you? Because you know when you're talking to someone and they're looking behind you, you start like looking behind you without even thinking about it subconsciously because you're like, wait, what's going on? Why are you looking behind me? It felt like he was looking at me, but again, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I don't know if he was looking at me. He could have been looking behind me, right? But then right at that moment, the jury comes in, we all stand up, and as there's noise in the courtroom, because we're not allowed to talk when the judge is on the bench, a reporter from a major media network. I mean, she's been doing this for years and years. She's like a professional. She turns to me and she whispers, quote, "You're putting that in your video, right?" Because that was at least 7 seconds. And 7 seconds does feel like an eternity
It's
in
not
that
only just
courtroom.
looking, but like the mouthing of "I know you" is weird.
And it was a pretty long time. Like usually when he, you know how in the beginning I'm like, this guy loves to stare. He kind of dropped a lot of the staring, at least towards the press. But when he did stare, it was still a little more brief. It feels like eternity, but it's more brief. This one was quite lengthy. So my researcher and I, we both felt it was weird. We both wrote it down independently in our notes in the courtroom. We talked about it after, and we're like, you know what? We can't be sure. We don't want to be dramatic. Then it happens again on Friday, a week later. So not the following Friday, but a week later. And this one felt more like, okay, are we crazy? It feels a little more real. I don't know. I could be wrong still. But so Friday, we're sitting in the same exact seats, first row of the press pews. However, there is a row of counsel in front of us. Now, a lot of the witnesses, they'll have their attorneys, family, and friends. Like that's why we were sitting behind Cassie's attorney and Cassie's husband. They'll sit right in the pew in front of us. Mia, she was testifying. Her friends and family and her attorneys are in the pew right in front of us, and it's packed. It's jam-packed. And the whole day on Friday, all the press members are complaining about how they can't see anything. And we're in the first row of the press. And it was difficult for me to see sitting like this. Like I couldn't see the witness and the defendant. Like I could see the witness, I could see Mia, but I can't see the defendant that well. So my entire neck was crooked the entire time. So my researcher is focusing on the witness and her body language, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on the defendant then because I gotta turn my neck. We can't just keep moving our heads because we don't want to bother the press behind us. So my head is poked out like this. I had to put pus on my neck. That's how I'm trying to describe how much my neck was turned. So on Friday, there's this moment where there's a sidebar. Sean Combs' attorneys are near the front of the courtroom with the judge. And regardless, the jurors are still sitting on the side. Sean Combs turns around, but he turns to his right. So his mom is right behind him. It might have been easier for him to turn left. Maybe not, because maybe he's right-handed, but he does like a full turn. So he turns right, he glances over at our side of the courtroom, not like our side, but where we're sitting. And then he talks to his mom, and then he's smiling, nodding at her. He's like mouthing, "I love you." And then my neck is tilted still because I'm observing him and I'm taking notes about him talking to his mom during this sidebar. And as he's making his turn back to the front, it felt like we make awkward eye contact. And I say awkward to the point where I'm like, you know when it's so awkward, you almost like instinctively smile or look down because you're like, oh, I just got caught staring at someone. That was the feeling. It was like, oh, I literally just got caught staring him down. And he starts rubbing his chin with his left hand and mouths what appears to seem like, "I know you, I know you." And this time it seemed more pronounced because as he's rubbing his chin with his left hand, he does like a slight index point. It's not like a point. He's not pointing his finger, but it's kind of like a hand gesture, like "I know you," like kind of like you, like almost pointing at you, whoever you is. Then he turns to the front. And it was just so odd. And regardless, to us, not to us, it was intense. It was odd. Maybe he's talking about the whole press as a whole. I don't know. Weird.
So to clarify, right? So Stephanie clearly feels like it was really uncomfortable eye contact along with mouthing, "I know you." And even the phrase itself, "I know you," sounds really off. Like, what does that mean? You know me?
Yeah. Okay. So even the first time that he did it, the previous Thursday, right? Like my researcher was a bit more firm than me, and she's like, "No, he was literally looking, and I saw it. Like I'm watching from the side."
And also, just to clarify,
Yes.
I think it is normal for them to know a lot of the press.
Oh,
because
yeah, I
they're
think-
doing research every day, seeing what everyone's talking about.
I think
it's completely normal, and we're expected of that. But the fact that he's mouthing that feels a little bit more intentional. Like, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah, I think if they don't know every single person in the press pew, the attorneys are not doing their jobs right, especially if he's paying that much money. I think that they should probably know every single person in that courtroom, maybe not the public, but everybody else. Yeah, I mean, you're having a lot of the same familiar faces over and over again, and these are the people that are going outside and telling the world what is happening that's maybe not on the transcript. And so it makes sense that he would know every single member of the press, right? But it was just like, I think the intensity of the stare was a lot. It just is an intense moment. And I think the first time it happened, my researcher was a bit more firm in the sense of like, no, he was saying, "I know you." Because I thought, well, maybe he was saying, "How are you?" to somebody. Who knows, right? But then the second time he does like the finger point. So it was just weird. And again, he knows us, he doesn't know us. Does it really matter? I don't think so. But I did almost pee myself. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. Now, with that being said, Sean Combs walks into the courtroom, black sweater. This is a different day. And the attorneys, it's so interesting. I feel like as the trial progresses, he can't even hide it. His real mannerisms are starting to show because every single thing just reminds me of a commanding businessman. And I'm just going to give you like a scale of his businessman poses. Anytime he sits and he listens to a witness testimony, he will have a default businessman pose that he sits in, and sometimes it's a lot more pronounced than others. But right when he walks into the courtroom, he looks like the president of the board meeting. All the attorneys are standing, waiting to hug him, waiting to greet him. Meanwhile, the prosecution, they look like they're not here to play games. Combs sits down on his chair. On either side, he's got Nicole Westmoreland standing behind him on his right side. On his left side, he's got Brian Steele. And they're both standing behind him with one hand on the back of Diddy's chair, and they're crouched over and talking to him. They're both whispering to both sides of his face. And it's like two consultants going over a business deal with the CEO, and Sean Combs is just staring straight ahead. Meanwhile, Tenny Garagos and Mark Agnifilo walk in. Combs stands up. He pulls out Tenny's chair for her, even helps her scoot in, which apparently she's 4 months pregnant with her second child. Mark Agnifilo, also very busy. He is the type of student that I feel, even before a test, everybody else in the classroom is like, you know what? If I fail, I fail. He's the one that still knows in his textbook until the very last moment. He's not talking to anybody, he's just studying his notes. And to give you an idea, Judge Arun, the judge, very firm, but he's also kind of sick of everyone right now. For example, in a sidebar, both sides are only allowed to have 2 lawyers from each side at the sidebar. But the defense team, because they have practically a whole football team of lawyers, they always consistently have more than 2 lawyers that go to the sidebar. Dang. And maybe Mark 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗦 can see that the judge is getting annoyed because he mentions to him, I know you have a 2-lawyer rule at the sidebar and I know we've been breaking it, so I'm guilty. And the judge just says, well, it's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You get a few lifelines, but you're running out. And it's going to be a very intense day. The next witness on the stand is Capricorn Clark. Everybody has been anticipating her testimony, considering she's the one that has claimed she was kidnapped by Sean Combs. I mean, that's a lot to unpack. Capricorn Clark, she walks in looking so casual. Like a lot of the other witnesses, they've come in very well dressed, very well refreshed. They don't look happy, but they look like they're ready for a fight. They look like they're ready for battle. They look like they're ready for testimony. They look like they're prepared. Capricorn Clark walks in and she looks like, this doesn't even look like Monday at her work. This feels like a Wednesday after a crazy Taco Tuesday. Like, that's the vibe. Her hair is tied back. She has on these giant eyeglasses that cover half of her face. She doesn't look like she has much makeup on. She's wearing a white shirt, super thin, and a pinstripe skirt. What's interesting is if you actually look at photos of her leaving the courthouse, she's not wearing that same outfit. She's actually wearing a pinstripe vest and nothing underneath. So it's like a tank vest and you can see her belly button. It's cropped. You can see the tattoos on her arm. Wow. And it's a perfect match with her skirt. I don't think the prosecutors liked that. So someone gave her a long sleeve white t-shirt.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
When she walked in, someone made her change.
It seems like it. I don't know if it was the prosecutors or her own counsel, or maybe it was one of her friends. I don't know. But someone was like, maybe you should wear this.
So someone changed her out of the vest?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you could see tattoos, you could see a lot of shoulder, which, I mean, it's court, right? I guess no shoulders. And you could see her belly button. So I don't know whose shirt it is. She walks in and you can just... I think the minute she walks in, you can kind of tell that she's already going to have a very interesting testimony because she just looks like she is not very prepared for the testimony. And it seems like everybody else is very prepared for the testimony. They've talked it over with counsel. Like, this is something that they knew and they were anticipating was going to happen. Capricorn Clark looks like she's already crying on the way to the witness stand. Like, she looks very relatable in the sense of like, because same, I would also be a wreck. That's what it feels like. Now, Combs is doing the same thing where everyone in the pews, they're turning with Capricorn Clark as she's walking like she's a bride down the aisle. We're all like watching and turning our bodies facing the front with her. Sean Combs does not look back until she's in his view, and then he'll just watch her go to the witness stand. And with that, she takes the stand.
With that, she takes the stand. Why is this thing doing this? Wow. I don't know why this thing... My computer is moving slow. This is supposed to be a top-of-the-line computer. See, I hit go long time ago. Let's go. Can we go? Maybe I can hit it again. Maybe it didn't feel it.
Offered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients in lose before tonight the mold gossip blogs.
Okay.
Just to get an idea of how this was going to go.
Here we go.
Capricorn, from yourself. This is a paid advertisement.
Here we go. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Y'all know Uncle Mike
we
crazy.
did a quick sweep of some old gossip blogs. Just to get an idea of how this was going to go. Capricorn Clark, if you knew about the music industry well, if you knew some of like the more figures in the music industry, so not just, oh, this celebrity, this artist, this musician, but their managers, their assistants, their staff, their personnel, you would probably know Capricorn Clark. She was Combs' assistant and manager of his clothing brand, but she's also friends with celebrities like Rihanna and A$AP Rocky. She seems a bit like a socialite in her own right. That's how people talk about her in these gossip blogs. But out of nowhere, someone that has always been with Sean Combs, she suddenly gets fired. And so all these gossip blogs, like 10 years ago, they start speculating, why did she get fired? Why did she get fired? There's rumors that she was fired for stealing from Diddy. He shut those rumors down. There were rumors that she was having intimate relations with Diddy, and then Cassie found out. Those are later shot down. It's just so much is happening. With one post from 2014 on a gossip website reading, "Old tea, but I heard Diddy brought Cassie into the bedroom with Capricorn." One gossip blog enthusiast writes, in 2015, she and Cassie developed a very close bond like sisters, and Capricorn started noticing that Diddy was rejecting Cassie's music to keep her under his thumb. This is in 2015. So Cap would tell Cassie that she could do better, and Diddy didn't like that, so he would start telling Cass that Cap was the one leaking bad stories about her, and that whenever Cass wasn't around, Cap would belittle her, and eventually Capricorn quit. So that's what they're hypothesizing is why Capricorn is no longer in Diddy's circle. But now, Capricorn's Instagram is private. Her bio just reads, "Nothing to see here. Everything not saved will be lost. Tell the truth, shame the devil." With a lot of people thinking that Sean Combs is the devil. Because even around the time of Cassie's lawsuit, there was a tweet that has since been removed and her ex has gone private. But Capricorn Clark allegedly tweeted, "Don't take the path of the wicked. Don't follow those who do evil. Stay away from that path. Don't even go near it. Turn around and go the other way." Another one, she adds, "Doors be unlocked. You gotta be willing to walk away from the money. Full stop. 2011 was hell. Tragic kingdom." She also does another one that's more clearly aligned with Sean Combs. "Black women end up being the sacrifice. For the last 11 years of my life, I had to deal with everyone's nonsensical allegiance to the devil. They will skin you and wear you, baby girl, and then pretend that they never wanted your skin." Kim was the only person who didn't switch up, the only one. "Dark times. I'm personally very triggered. I pray it's over. I never deserved this. Stop. Hashtag protect black women IRL. Hashtag RIP Kim." And it's a picture of her and Kim Porter.
Wow.
So clearly, she has very strong feelings. And she starts off the direct by giving some background. She says that she's always been in the music industry. She interned at Def Jam Records, which is a massive music label. Then she was with Death Row Records with Suge Knight, which is Bad Boy Records' constant nemesis. This is the origins of the Tupac and Biggie rivalry. She also mentions that, quote, "My mother died, and then shortly thereafter, my father died." And this is like 2 seconds of her taking the stand. She's already about to cry, and she sounds like she's crying already. And some of the defense attorneys look at each other like, what the fuck? I guess that they don't like the instant going into sympathetic territory. I will say that Capricorn Clark is probably the most, second, top 3 most captivating witnesses. I mean, she just talks in a way where I feel like you just know everything she's saying, she's probably oversharing. That's the feeling. You feel like she's gonna get very messy on the stand, but maybe it's good because it makes her feel very transparent. Even when she's asked to identify Combs, she closes her eyes dramatically and she's like, "Blue sweater." It was like a nearly black, very dark navy blue sweater. So everyone did kind of look at each other like, wait, are we sure? But yes. Now, she's very intriguing. She sounds like a smoker, has a very raspy voice, and she sounds like she is 2 seconds away from sobbing with every question. It's not like she's 2 seconds away from being emotional, so she's getting choked up. It sounds more like, you know when people sob and it's more of like audible? Like, ah. It sounds like she's 2 seconds away from that. She mentions that she works with Death Row. Then her very next job is Bad Boy Entertainment with Sean Combs in 2004 as his personal assistant. And it's a bit of a switch considering she didn't just work for Sean Combs' nemesis and competitor Suge Knight. They're actually very close in some respects. Capricorn's best friend has children with Suge Knight. So it's very complicated.
What?
And right off the bat, Prosecutor Steiner is coming in asking all the questions. And Miss Clark, I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. Were you working for Mr. Combs at that time? Yes. So I'm trying to, and again, because you only get the transcript, and I feel like it's very hard to understand why the jurors might have different receptions to different testimonies. And a lot of it is so much in the delivery and the voice and the tone, because I think a lot of the times it conveys whether or not you believe this person. So if I'm just reading the transcript, it's like, she says, yes, right? But in reality, it's more like, yes, it's very raw. What occurred at that time? I was kidnapped. So the jurors, they immediately start taking notes. They look back up and Combs is very still, statuesque. Generally, what were your duties as a personal assistant? To shadow him from before he wakes up until he releases me at night? Which even just the way she words things is very interesting. Like, what do you mean he releases you at night? She explains that after working as his personal assistant, she quits and then comes back a little while later to work as the director of marketing for Shanjan Women's and then the global of Shanjan Women's. And then later she comes back as Cassie's manager or like the creative director for Cassie. And so when she's asked about Shanjan, she says, it's a new tentacle from the master brand of Shanjans that I was in charge of. And again, everyone's just taking notes. And meanwhile, Combs is still just staring right ahead. His mom walks in late during the direct testimony. He doesn't even notice. Everybody is so absorbed in Capricorn Clark's testimony. Capricorn is shown pictures of a few of the security guards for Combs. And it's interesting because even when she's looking at the pictures on the evidence screen, she looks like these security guards are about to jump up and attack her out of the screen. Like she looks scared to look at the screen. She's like wincing and kind of glancing at the screen. And she is very descriptive. She likes to put her arms out to describe people's statures. She says D-Rock is a bit more, he's about 6'3", 6'4", more slender, very solid. I would say quarterback, running back type of body. And Paul Offert, that everybody calls Uncle Paulie, he's the head of security for Sean Combs. Can you please describe his general appearance? Quiet, stoic, a bit menacing. Physically, he looks like a linebacker. There's a picture admitted into evidence. And is this picture how Mr. Offert typically looked? No. What's different? He doesn't have his glasses on, his blacked out sunglasses that he wears 100% of the time. Capricorn Clark testifies that on the very first day of the job, working as Combs' personal assistant at like 9 p.m., it's dark outside in New York City, Sean Combs and Uncle Paulie take her to Central Park. Capricorn says Sean Combs tells her, I had no clue that you had anything to do with Suge Knight when I hired you. This is her first day on the job. And he basically says to her, according to her, if anything happens, if you do anything to, I guess, mess Sean Combs up or give information or intel to Suge Knight, quote, he would have to kill me. Mark Agnifilo during this entire direct testimony is a whack-a-mole. He's constantly standing up. Objection, judge. Sustained. Miss Clark, what was Mr. Combs' demeanor when he threatened that if anything happened, he would have to kill you? Calm. How did you perceive his threats? Very serious. Why is that? I felt like there was some gravitas to the fact that he might have had issues with Suge. How did you react when Mr. Combs threatened you? And she starts sobbing, and her voice gets very high-pitched. She's like, I said, we'll just have to see. That's the tone, and it seems very emotional.
Like she can't even hold it back anymore.
Yeah, it's like she's starting to get very emotional.
And this is like still early on, right?
It's like 3 minutes in. During this, Combs is very stoic. He's sitting still, but his head is kind of cocked to the side a tiny bit. Meanwhile, Capricorn Clark is sitting there, and she seems very anxious. She's moving around nonstop. Mark Agnifilo keeps jumping up out of his chair to object to everything, and the prosecutor asks, what do you mean by that? It meant that there was nothing I could do in Central Park to convince him that I was a trustworthy person. And I wrote down in my notes, you know when someone is drunk and emotional? I don't think she's drunk at all. I think she's completely sober. But just to give you an idea of her tone, like when someone gets very drunk, they get emotional and they start talking, it almost becomes like a kid. Do you know what I'm trying to explain? So it's more like, there was nothing I could do to convince him that I was a trustworthy person. It sounds like when you're drunk and you're trying to like explain something as you're crying, as you're emotional, but you're a little drunk. So it sounds kind of like that.
And how does that make like the jurors feel when
there are a few jurors that never seem that intrigued by anyone? Even during Cassie's testimony, I felt like they would rather be anywhere else on this planet. Like they seemed, honestly, I don't want to use the word, but they seemed bored. Like a few of them. I think most of them were very in tune and taking notes, but a few of them, they just look bored every single day that I'm there. During Capricorn's testimony, they're jotting down notes like passionately, every single one of the jurors, because the emotion is so raw. I think Cassie's testimony, a lot of the words she says evokes emotions in people, but when she says it, most of the time, she does not convey a lot of emotions. She's saying it matter of the fact, this is how I felt, this is what happened. Capricorn Clark, you can't not feel her emotions because she feels it so heavily.
So like when Stephanie came home that day, like she was saying, this is one of the most like
most impactful testimony. I think everybody felt that way because here's the thing that everyone kept saying about Capricorn Clark, and like this is the best way I could phrase it. A lot of people said she's just captivating. My feeling is if you don't already believe her, you want to believe her because of how transparent she feels. She just feels like a mess, like a friend that you're like, oh my God, you're kind of a mess and I want to help you.
Yeah.
So she's like crying. I knew that I didn't have anything to do with any of that stuff that he possibly could have had. Objection, judge. So Mark Agnifilo is just nonstop objecting to everything. Capricorn explains that she still worked for Combs after the Central Park threats because she felt like, yeah, maybe I could have been more transparent about telling him that I worked for Suge Knight prior to all of this. But there were just other alarming things that happened during the course of her employment. There's this one time. We were at MTV. He was doing MTV Press with 50 Cent. And after the interview wrapped up, myself, Puff, and Chris Lighty, which is 50 Cent's manager at the time, got in the elevator. So 50 Cent is not in the elevator. It's her, Puff, Chris Lighty, which is 50 Cent's manager. What happened in the elevator? Capricorn is explaining that Combs had an issue with 50 Cent. She doesn't dive much deeper into it, but if you watched our previous 4-part series, you know that 50 Cent is amongst a long list of... he's got a lot of career accomplishments, but he is also a professional Diddy hater. He also has recently discovered AI-generated images and how to produce them, so he's just been spamming the feed with AI-generated pictures of him in court wearing free Diddy shirts. Regardless, Capricorn Clark says, Puff told Chris because they were having some sort of issue, like, I don't really like all this back and forth. I don't like that. I like guns. What was Mr. Combs' demeanor when he said that he liked guns? Very serious. During the testimony about 50 Cent, Diddy looks over at Mark Agnifilo, who asks him a question. Diddy purses his lips like a duck and just nods slowly. I don't know what that means. Is he confirming, like, yeah, I did say that? Like, I don't know. Meanwhile, 50 Cent will later take to Instagram to write, cut. Wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun? I can't believe this. I don't feel safe. Frowny face, LOL.
He's responding to this testimony.
Yeah, okay. But it does not get better from here. Capricorn Clark says within a few months of working for Combs, she gets accused of theft. She's had the job for a few months, and she gets accused of stealing very expensive high-end jewelry that was on loan from Jacob the jeweler. So this isn't even Sean Combs' jewelry. A lot of celebrities will get loaned big pieces for events. She says it was a diamond necklace with a cross, diamond bracelet, and a diamond watch. Miss Clark, had you stolen the jewelry? I did not. But it was in her possession at one point. Combs gave it to her for safekeeping because she's the assistant. They're traveling to Miami. She's to keep it safe. And on this travel, like before they even get on the plane to go to Miami, she realizes the jewelry is missing. What did you do when you realized that the jewelry was missing? I told the driver to stop the car and I called security and I told them to lock everybody in and search them. She tells Combs that the jewelry is missing and he's telling her, okay, well, I'm going to head to Miami for the event. You go back home to your place with Uncle Paulie, the head of security, with the blackout sunglasses. She goes back to her house in Queens where Uncle Paulie starts questioning her about the events leading up to the jewelry being missing. And then he starts searching through her entire house. She says, quote, he went through my belongings. He went through my common areas. I had a roommate and he just searched. He didn't find anything. But he tells her he's going to be back tomorrow. Like, we need to figure this out. The next day, Capricorn says Uncle Paulie comes to pick her up and he takes her to 1710 Broadway, which at this time was being converted into the new Bad Boy Entertainment headquarters, but she did not know that at this point. She just knew that when she walks in there, the whole place looks like it's under construction and abandoned. They walk in through the glass doors, her and Uncle Paulie. She says that someone she doesn't know comes and locks the front door behind them from outside the building, like you would lock your house from the outside.
That's crazy.
They walk in. She says the building is just, quote, dilapidated. She says post move out, post pre-move in, the floors weren't even really done on the levels we were on. The floor wasn't done. There was like old pieces of like, you know, permanent fixtures around that were sort of taken out. Just pretty much a gutted building. They go up to the 6th floor and it looks similar, dilapidated. Floor isn't done, nothing built yet, some old built-ins. And quote, there was a 6-foot folding table with some chairs in the middle of the room and there's another person there. So now it's Uncle Paulie, Capricorn Clark, and this gentleman who's sitting there waiting for them, which Capricorn describes as heavyset gentleman who was chain smoking cigarettes, and she'll like do hand motions, and drinking black coffee. Can you describe the individual's appearance? Very wide, very heavy, looked like the size of 2 linebackers. He wasn't tall. He didn't stand very much either. So Uncle Paulie is a linebacker. This man is 2 linebackers. When you say size and width, he was very large? Yes. Can you describe this man's size relative to your own? Capricorn looks at the prosecutor, then she turns to the jury, and it looks like she's trying to think in her mind, like, how do I describe someone's size to a whole group of people? And she just goes for it. 5 of me across, I mean, he was very wide. Some of the jurors, they're doing like full teeth smiles and giggles because the way she's delivering the information is so, again, she's like looking at the jurors and she's like, 5 of me? Like, very wide, like very descriptive. It's a pretty goofy moment in light of how serious everything's been and depressing in this courtroom. I mean, just the way that she like stands with her arms out, it's a lot. We're not used to that. The only person not amused, naturally, is Sean Combs, who just cocks his head to the right. Nevertheless, Capricorn Clark and Mr. Two Linebackers are left alone. Uncle Paulie leaves, and Mr. Two Linebackers, whom she states she never learns his name, he tells her that she has been brought to this building so that she could take a lie detector test to find out what happened to the jewelry. What, if anything, did he say would happen if you did not pass the test? He said if you fail these tests, they're gonna throw you in the East River. And she starts sobbing. The minute those words come out of Capricorn Clark's mouth, the jurors are jotting down notes. Combs looks around, like he's looking at like, hello? Why is someone not saying anything? Hello, what's happening? And then finally, Agnifilo stands up. Your Honor, I'm gonna object. Move to strike the last answer. Can we approach for a second? During the sidebar, Combs is leaning his elbows on his armrest, using his right hand to touch his chin. He seems very pensive, just sitting there. Meanwhile, Capricorn is up there. She's got these giant aviator eyeglasses and she'll like lift them up and wipe her tears and then push them back down and she's like fidgeting with them. And then she'll do this very animated sigh where her shoulders go all the way up and then she slumps it down and then she uses the tissue to wipe her nose. I feel like if anybody else had done that, it would come off performative and fake. But I don't know why when Capricorn Clark does it, you're just like, I don't even know her, but it feels genuine. Like that's the message and image that I think the jurors are getting.
And you feel for her, like?
I think everyone did. Everyone in the press pews was like, she might be one of the more gripping testimonies.
Facts.
Because of how you can relate to her. She just feels like a normal girl that just got thrown up on the witness stand. Just way in over her head. And she's kind of a wreck. Meanwhile, at the sidebar, Mr. Agnifilo is very stressed. There's no indication that any of this is coming from the defendant. I mean, we don't even know who this man is, which even if it is to be believed, I'm not here to quarrel with that at this point. There's nothing saying that Mr. Combs wanted any of this to happen, so it's unduly prejudicial. So I think for that reason, we object to it and we move to strike it. She's with this unknown man who is giving her a lie detector test, and that connection between that man and Mr. Combs is just non-existent at this point. The judge does not agree. He rules, I don't think that's a fair characterization of the testimony, but I understand your argument. Objection is overruled. After the objection, Prosecutor Steiner goes back to asking Capricorn about what it was like to take this lie detector test in this dilapidated building after being told that she's been thrown in the East River if the results are bad. Capricorn says they strapped her up to some, quote, stuff to your chest and then strap some stuff to your arms and then they ask you a series of questions over and over and over again. What types of questions were you asked? Did I steal the jewelry? Did I come up with an idea to steal the jewelry? Did I plan with somebody to steal the jewelry? Had I ever stolen from him? Just a lot of stealing-centric questions. From him, was that Mr. Combs? Yes. Did this man tell you the results of the test? They said that they were inconclusive. What, if anything, did the man tell you about the results being inconclusive? It's like, I'm not getting a good reading. You need to calm down. You're going to be in the East River if I can't get a good reading on this. And she kind of sounds, again, like the drunk, panicked voice. And again, I'm not insinuating that she's drunk. She's like completely sober. And I think the reason that her testimony resonated a lot with the jurors, at least from the perception that I saw, and like even the people in the pews, is that like the words she's saying are sad, and you can like resonate with the sadness of like, yes, if I were in that situation, I too would be panicked, right? You can resonate on that level. But on a secondary level, she's incredibly likable in a sense of like, it's not just overwhelming sadness. It's like, you almost like want to give her a hug because it's like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now? Like it just feels very relatable. I don't know how to put it in a way that doesn't sound like I'm minimizing her testimony because I'm not at all. It's just in the sense of like, you feel like she's your friend. The way that she communicates feels like she's a friend, and now your friend is telling you some of the worst stuff that's ever happened to her. So you almost resonate on a deeper level. She feels like she's just telling you like exactly what's happened and how it made her feel. There's no intentional like, let me tell you in a sophisticated manner. Let me tell you in a way where I think you'll understand. She's just like saying as she's feeling it is what it's perceived as. When he told you to calm down, how had you been reacting in that moment? I couldn't calm down. I wasn't doing a good job at calming down. So she's very passionate. She has a way of sounding incredibly honest, and she sounds just honestly relatable. I hate that word, but I don't know how else to describe it. The whole time she's sniffling, wiping her tears. Mind you, she keeps pushing those giant glasses up. She's lifting them to wipe her tears. Meanwhile, Combs is just stoically looking ahead with very little movement. The jurors are rapidly taking notes, and here's the interesting thing to note. All the jurors' notes are naturally kept in the courthouse. They're collected every single day and given back at the start of each court day. But at the very end, after the verdict, notes are permanently destroyed. So they're writing in their notes. Capricorn is telling them as they're taking their notes that she was there for a full work day that Monday. They're intermittently all day taking the lie detector test, we weren't allowed to leave. The door was locked from the outside. She did not attempt to leave the building because she says, I was there to prove my innocence. At the end of the day, Uncle Paulie takes her home and he tells her that they're going to do this all over again the next morning. And they do for the next 5 days. She said she's doing a 9 to 5 getting a lie detector test all week long. Why did you continue to go with Mr. Offord, Uncle Paulie, to the building? I wanted to prove my innocence. I didn't like the threats. I felt like it was the only way to prove that I had nothing to do with it. I was in a different headspace. I was just trying to survive it. She says that she never tried to reach out to law enforcement for her 5-day lie detector marathon because she worked under an NDA. She didn't even think about calling the cops. And after those 5 days, Uncle Paulie just tells her, yeah, you're gonna go home. Next Monday, she just goes back to work. Sean Combs acts like nothing ever happened. Nobody ever did find the jewelry. It didn't make sense for Capricorn to quit because she's saying, I felt like if I had left, it would have been written off as I had stolen it anyway. And then likely she would never be able to work in the industry. Now, side note, during the entirety of the lie detector testimony, one of Combs' closest friends who's known him for decades, he's been inside the courtroom every single day, sitting in the friends and family pews, and he's falling asleep. And I really try to focus mainly on jotting down notes on everyone's reactions to things rather than getting absorbed in my own personal reaction. But that was kind of interesting to me because, sir, is that like a normal Tuesday? Like, have we just all gone through lie detector tests? Like the way that he was, because I'm thinking if I'm sitting there and there's a woman on the stand spewing lies about my childhood best friend, would I not be like awake and this is crazy? But he was falling asleep. He was like fully in REM. Now, Capricorn is asked, generally, what hours were you required to work as Mr. Combs' personal assistant? Probably start the day at his townhouse at 74th and Park at 9 o'clock in the morning and finish at Daddy's house or wherever we were sometime around 4 a.m. Daddy's house is the studio, not like Daddy's house. She says that she would get no breaks throughout the day for basic needs like eating. On a good night, getting 4 hours of sleep. On a bad night, 2 hours of sleep. And this is probably putting it very lightly. 2 of Sean Combs' other former assistants testified. And this is how David James, he was another former assistant, he describes it. And side note, there is a really weird skit of David James and Diddy that I'm gonna put in the video because maybe it gives you an idea of like his tone of voice and stuff. But it's about Diddy being allergic to bitch-ass disease.
It's David. I'm here to go over your schedule for the day.
How do I know you haven't been infected with the bitch-assness disease? You were supposed to be here an hour ago.
I know, sir, but I got stuck in traffic trying to get here from the studio.
Excuses. First sign of bitch-assness. Did you bring my iPod with you for my run this morning?
I think I forgot it, sir. Let me go get it right now.
David has been infected with the bitch-assness disease.
Which don't be
Oh my
is, I
God.
guess, the end statement of the video. David James walks into the courtroom.
Dave James was before Capricorn.
Yeah, days before Capricorn. He seems less prepared in the sense of like, not the answering of the questions, but he walks in and it's like a restaurant. He's kind of waiting for the hostess to guide him to the witness seat is like what it feels like. He's just awkwardly staring and it's just uncomfortable. And in court, he's asked, generally speaking, Mr. James, what were your responsibilities as a personal assistant for Mr. Combs? How long do we have? He just starts listing everything he needed to do. Make every environment for him comfortable so he could perform his duties. There was a lot of organization of his personal items, traveling around the world with him, basically be at his right-hand side wherever he was. So what you want to do is you have to arrive at his house before he wakes up in the morning. It's important that you set the environment up as soon as he wakes up so he's able to have a successful day. So that would be to compile different documents. One of those documents, we have a folder on the table that would be everything that he needs to approve from a business perspective. If there is a certain artwork for an album he's doing, certain advertisements he has to approve. There would be a file of business documents, and next to that would be his business schedule for the day that he would have laid out. We'd also have a folder for all the press clippings for any news mentions of Mr. Combs in the last 24 hours. So like, this man knows everyone in the press pews. Like, you can't tell me he doesn't know everyone in the press pews. He just seems like he's intrigued by the press on him, okay? Which... I'm just saying, but more on that later. Continuing on, I would turn on the TV for him to his preferred channel, and I would work with a chef to make sure breakfast was getting started, and then I would knock on the door to get the day going and get his feedback as to if he was ready to wake up, if we needed to make adjustments to his schedule. From there, he would wake up and we would wait for him to be done with his breakfast. We would call down to security to let them know that Mr. Combs is getting ready to move out for the day, and we would travel around the city, especially New York City. Then it's dinner, which he later notes it's pretty standard for Combs to have a 3-hour dinner. Then it's studio for work on an album, quote, that would take us to about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and then from there we would either go back to his personal residence or to a destination of his request, and we would get a call time at the end of the night. It was important that I didn't leave his side until I got the call time to know what time to be back tomorrow. I would text the executive team, his security staff, and let them know what time I'd be back for tomorrow once I got that call time.
At like 4 a.m., 5 a.m.?
Yeah. Wow. So generally, what were your hours? I would say my hours would start 30 minutes before he woke up until he gave me that call time at the end of the night, which could be anywhere between, 4 in the morning to 8 in the morning.
Wow.
How many days per week were you on duty? Depending on the personal staff at the time, some days it would be 6 days a week. There were times I worked 3 weeks straight. When we had more executive staff, I would work sometimes 5 days a week. All of that, and David James was paid $70,000 a year. Which, side note, it seems that Mr. Combs is very particular about how he likes everything done. Another former personal assistant that testified, George Kaplan, he says he has to make sure all of Combs' toiletries in his bathroom are facing forward, and the process of making sure all of these little things and adjustments were made before he wakes up would take at least 30 minutes. Now, back to the press part. There was one incident where David James says he was off that day, but still at the Combs residence. I was sitting at the computer in his office. I was working on a research project for Mr. Combs. He wanted to get new tattoos, so I was looking up different options for him. He entered the house at the time. He had been at the club with Miss Ventura, another assistant, and security. As soon as he entered the door, he beelined straight towards me, and he came right over to me, looked over my shoulder, asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm doing a research project for you, sir. He told me that someone was lying on him, and someone did a blog post that somebody hit Cassie, and he looked at my browser history to see what websites I had been visiting that night. So he was following gossip blogs too.
Diddy was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he comes home and he's like, are you the one that wrote the gossip blog? And he's like checking the browser on David James's history.
Wow.
David is like, I did not. It was jarring. He'd never done anything like that. Now, side note, I did find the old gossip post. I think this is the one that they're referencing, but it reads, according to a reliable source, Diddy beat the shit out of Cassie for talking to another guy. He pushed her to the ground and kicked her in the face, and this is not the first time he's hit her. Details to follow. David James says that during his interview, Vashta, the senior VP of Human Resources, pointed to a picture, this is before he's even hired, pointed to a picture of Sean Combs on the wall, and she allegedly tells him, this is Mr. Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve in it. It's very intense. There's a whole multi-step interview process where at the end, David James is asked by Sean Combs why he should be hired, and he tells Mr. Combs, I can't stop, I won't stop. And he said that at that point, Sean Combs was nodding his head like, yeah, I like that. David James also mentions in his direct that he was given a lie detector test after a Cartier bracelet went missing. And he says that Uncle Paulie came, searched his things, did not find anything, and then gave a lie detector test. At this point, Combs passes another note to Tenny Garagos. He rests his arm on the armrest, and then he's like watching for her reaction as she's reading his little post-it in the courtroom. It's weird. Sometimes he does that. He'll like watch the attorneys react to his post-it note. And then I always wonder, because
and does the attorney react or say anything, or
like they'll give him a nod, and then sometimes like I think he wants them to pass it to the person doing the cross. So then he'll like kind of motion for them to like hello. It's very interesting, yeah. He's definitely heavily involved. Like, these attorneys are not running their own defense and he's just their client. Like, he's calling a lot of shots. Oftentimes, even during cross-examinations, they'll say, "One moment, Your Honor," and then the attorney that's doing the cross-examination will go talk to Diddy, come back and say, "No further questions." So it's interesting. Now, David says that he took 2 lie detector tests during his time working for Combs. He says, "I was invited to what almost looked like a government building. It was kind of a tall skyscraper. And I met with a gentleman who said he was a former FBI lie detector. And at this point, the whole courtroom laughs. Is it funny? No. Are we just like full of tension? Yeah." He's like, lie detector. I guess you could call it. And he was like the most, specialist lie detector agent in America. Who told you that? The gentleman did. The lie detector? Yeah. And again, everyone giggles again. It was very intimidating. I don't know if you've ever taken a lie detector test before, but you basically sit in a chair where they monitor your movements. They put a heartbeat monitor on your chest. I believe they put something on my head and something in my hand. The lie detector tells him, Mr. Combs does not like people who steal. That's like one of his big things. And he basically told me we had to get rid of the rat on the team. He takes the first for the missing Cartier bracelet, the second one for a Jacob & Co. watch. Also, Combs seems super paranoid, if not already evident by the copious amounts of polygraphs he allegedly forced everyone to take. But David James states every time they're in the car, if Mr. Combs had a Maybach, he would want to have a second car to his right. That way someone couldn't pull up on him, for example, and try to assassinate him or shoot him, which is how Biggie died. So he would always follow him around like security detail.
Who would? A second car?
Yeah.
Like, is he driving the second car?
So Combs would be in the first car, and then the second car would be filled with staff. So David James would probably be in the back of the second car.
Wow.
Yeah. And Combs was never without security detail. Honestly, this whole thing just sounds like the worst job on the planet. They said the motto at the Combs Enterprise Company was, "What rhymes with tired? Fired." All of this, and Capricorn Clark is just getting paid $65,000. She states on the stand, while working for Combs, she developed a medical condition called alopecia. Side note, very odd timing, but right at this moment, Sean Combs takes out his retainer out of his mouth. Like, he has a retainer in his mouth and he just fully, just like slobber and all, takes it out of his mouth.
Puts it on the table?
He like wraps it in a napkin.
Oh.
What is alopecia? It's a stress-induced condition where you get bald patches on your head. Capricorn says that she went to HR at this point to tell them, hey, look, quote, "I'm working basically 24/7 and I'm not making enough money." And she sat with me to calculate my overtime. Vashta from HR, the same Vashta Dunlap, okay? And they go to calculate Capricorn's overtime. She comes back with this giant sheet of paper and tells Capricorn, and now Sean Combs, who's sitting there, she said that I was owed $80,000 per 3-month period in my assistant era. How did Mr. Combs respond?
Wait, she's owed?
Yeah, for all the overtime. She's owed $80,000 by Sean Combs.
Oh, okay.
And how did Mr. Combs respond? He ripped up the paper. She was not paid the overtime. Instead, Sean Combs would seemingly make her sit through life lessons where he would sit a bunch of women down that work for him and work with him once in the kitchen of his massive LA mansion. What did Mr. Combs discuss with you at that time? He was discussing with us why we didn't have a man like him. What did he do? He said, "Let me show you something." What did he do next? He called Cassie over and he asked her to sit down, stand up, turn around. And she's like using her hand. She's full into this. Turn the other way. Well, walk over there. Grab that. Hand me that. Walk back. Turn back. Go back to the other room. What did Miss Ventura respond? She did it. She followed each of his instructions. Yes. And after Miss Ventura left the room, what, if anything, did Mr. Combs say? He said, "Did you see that?" He said, "You bitches don't do that. That's why you don't have a..." So anytime she does Sean Combs' voice, she's like fully in it. So she's like, he said, "Did you see that?" He said, "You bitches don't do that. That's why you don't have a man." To which we said, "You're motherfucking right." And the jurors are giggling. Meanwhile, Tenny Garagos looks over at Mark Agnifilo. She looks disgusted. Her mouth is slightly ajar, like shock. I don't think that she's looking disgusted at her client per se. I think she's trying to I don't think she's trying to convey anything in her reaction. I think her reaction is like, I can't believe she would make up such a wild lie. Now, do we think it's a wild lie? I mean, I guess that's up to you, but that's what Tenny is showing Mark. The jurors don't see it because they're all smiling. Like, just the way she said, "You're motherfucking right," was like a lot. Like the whole, I think we didn't even know how to respond.
Yeah.
Eventually, Mark Agnifilo requests a sidebar where Combs turns around and says, "I love you" to his mom, and she mouths, "I love you" back. There's just a lot of like tongue movements. I don't know how to describe it. And again, I don't know if this is even worthy of including in an episode, but I'm just trying to see like all the things that we've noticed, and like we have, like my researchers and I have all noticed similar things, and we've almost like coined different terms for it. Like, you know how everyone says Mark Zuckerberg is a lizard? I feel like maybe all billionaires are lizards. A few members of the Combs family have very interesting mannerisms with utilizing their tongue. So Sean Combs, he will lick his lips, and when he licks them, he does them so quickly. And he'll like stick his tongue out and do like 3 licks of his lips very rapidly. And we always try to understand when and why he does it, and if it's just his lips are dry or if it's like something else, I don't know. And then Christian Combs does this thing where it seems like when he feels defensive, he kind of sticks his tongue out of his mouth to the side, like.
I see.
But it's always in very specific moments. So I think we're just trying to understand what those moments are. And then even when his mother is saying, like, she very dramatically says, "I love," like her tongue almost touches the tip of her nose when she says love and love.
Wow.
Yeah, and we both wrote it down, and I thought maybe I'm like paying too much attention to random stuff. But my researcher and I were cross-referencing notes, and we're like, oh yeah, that was kind of intense. I don't think it means anything. I mean, it seems like his mom really does love him. He blows kisses, she smooches the air. Meanwhile, Mark Agnifilo is very busy at the sidebar. This is becoming just a wholesale character assassination. I'm not sure what many of these things have to do with the charges. The judge tells the prosecutor to move on with the line of questioning. But I think the effect on the jury is already kind of done. I've never seen the jurors more engaged in 𝗗𝗡𝗡's testimony. She just has this way about herself. Again, the best way I described it to my husband when I got home after the testimony was, if you don't already believe what she's saying, you want to believe what she's saying. Because she's just so emotionally transparent that you cannot fathom someone could make this up. Like, for example, even listening to her is just fascinating. When she's asked about what Mr. Combs did when he received €100,000 for a club appearance in Europe, she just responds like crinkling her eyebrows. She looks at the prosecutor like, what kind of dumb question is that? And she goes, keep it? And they're like trying to ask, where did he keep it? But she's like, keep it? I don't know. So it's just very real. 𝗗𝗡𝗡 goes on to detail that Sean Combs likes to throw phones at people when he's upset. He would do that often. That's like his thing. And he was not just violent with Cassie. He was also violent with his staff, including 𝗗𝗡𝗡 Clark. She says there was this one time in his mansion on 2-Star Island in Miami where he sends 𝗗𝗡𝗡 on an errand. Pharrell Williams, who was a music producer, now he's
Louis Vuitton.
You know who he is, yeah. His manager came over and was dropped off by boat. Because this is an island. Everybody has like a boat driveway on 2-Star Island or on Star Island. And so he's dropped off by boat, but then he has to go to another island where Pharrell Williams is shooting a music video. So Mr. Combs is like, hey, 𝗗𝗡𝗡𝗡. And I say Mr. Combs, sorry, because the prosecutors call him Mr. Combs. Sean Combs is like, hey, 𝗗𝗗𝗡𝗡, go drop him off at the other island. She hops in the boat with him, drops him off, but then she decides to stay on that island for like about an hour hanging out. An hour into it, she gets a phone call from Sean Combs. He's like, where the fuck are you? And again, when she is doing Sean Combs's like quotes, it's very intense. And like all the jurors, they're engaged. What did you do after you got that call? I went back to Star Island. What, if anything, did Mr. Combs tell you when you returned to Star Island? He said, see, your problem is you want a life and you can't have that here. And then she's just like wiping tears, you know? So the next morning, 𝗗𝗡𝗡𝗡 wakes up. She goes to the kitchen to get some breakfast. I was making my plate. The chef was there. She was tired. I asked her where the turkey bacon was, and she said, there is no more fucking turkey bacon. She was very upset from a long night. And I just said, I hate it here. And then the chef walks outside, quote, to where Puff was standing on the back deck and told him what I said. It exacerbated her. He immediately looked at me and he said, you hate it here? And then he charged at me. At this point, she's holding herself in a hug while she's telling this story. When you say he charged at you, can you describe what he physically did to you? He ran towards me with his hands open and like pushed me by my shoulders, and she's using her hands to like motion. And he started pushing me back. In what direction was he pushing you? Out towards the front entrance of the kitchen through the butler's pantry? Approximately how far did he push you? about 25, 30 yards. The jurors are incredibly engaged. Even Sean Combs is taking down notes. And how was he pushing you? Just to make sure the record is reflecting the witness with open hands. Open hands, like right on my shoulder, like, you know? And she shows again. The top of your shoulders. What, if anything, was Mr. Combs telling you while he was pushing you in this way? He said, "You hate it here? Get the fuck out of my house. You hate it here? Get the fuck out of my house." Yeah, and he repeated it until we were outside. Can you describe the amount of force that Mr. Combs was using when he was pushing you? I would say like 75%. I never fell. I kept catching myself. Eventually, Uncle Paulie comes to tell her to pack her things, and she does, and then she leaves. But she comes back to work for Mr. Combs again, and this time she says she only came back because her role was not his personal assistant. It was as his global brand director for Sean John. So he told her specifically he's not going to interact with her as much, and that's the only reason she came back. He was very impressed with her new work when she was gone, so at this point she signed with a record label. She was managing Sierra's newest album and R. Kelly's newest album at that point. She says Puff was very impressed with my work and was like, "I'm starting a women's line. You wouldn't have to work directly with me, but you can work for me and it'll be something right up your alley." And it was paying more than Samba Records was. She also worked closely with Cassie. I was her creative director and manager. And in 2011, she became more close with Cassie. She starts learning that she's dating Kid Cudi, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦, which she kind of admits put her in a tricky situation because she can't tell Combs about the relationship, obviously. But one day in particular, Cassie sends Capricorn a text. And this is where it all started kind of making sense. Remember, I was like, why is Brian Steele asking Kid Cudi about exercising? She says, quote, "I was picking Cassie up one day. We were going to Runyon Canyon, which is a place in Los Angeles where you hike. And she asked if Kid Cudi could join us." Cassie texted Capricorn, "How did you react when you received that text message?" "Not well. It was a bad idea." I responded, "I don't think we should go to Runyon. There's too many people there. If he comes, we need to go to Fryman Canyon. Delete this text." Combs lizard licks his lips a little and then slightly shakes his head whilst kind of turning to the jurors like, "You see that?"
She said
like
lizard
they're all
lick.
plotting to cheat. Like it felt
Lizard
very like,
lick.
"I've been wronged" type of head shake. "Why did you direct Miss Ventura to delete the text?" Because that's the second everything got so tricky when she texted me. Mr. Combs paid for my phone. She's texting me on the phone he pays for, on a phone he pays for. It's not a good idea. After what happened, did Miss Ventura change the way that she communicated with Mr. Mascotti? Yes, I took her to Best Buy to buy a burner phone. So she's saying she's the one that bought the burner phone. Why did you take her to Best Buy to buy a burner phone? The way she was moving, she was gonna get us all killed. Mark Agnifilo stands up. "I'm sorry," sustained. Before he even says objection, sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
Oh my goodness. This is getting juicy, man. Y'all liking this? I'm gonna continue right now. I got, Uncle Mike got to take a break, and this joint right here is almost an hour and a half long. So yeah, we're gonna continue with a part 2, and the part 2 is gonna be crazy, man. We're gonna pick up right where we left off at. Hey, y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let me know if you're an ender. Shout out to all my ender. Shout out to everybody who a patron. You can become a free patron. Patron is going. We're gonna let y'all know when we finish. We're doing an 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗦 series, so we're gonna do an 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗡 documentary with Uncle Mike speaking on it and all that good stuff. So we're trying some things, trying some different things, trying to move away from our normal activity of me just sitting here doing reactions, So look here, y'all, take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.